They tried to cover it up. The eruption of Santa Maria. 15-minute text. Introduction. In 1902, a massive natural disaster occurred in Central America, specifically in the country of Guatemala, the eruption of the Santa Maria volcano. This eruption is recorded as one of the most violent and destructive volcanic eruptions of the 20th century. However, in the aftermath of the event, both local and national authorities initially tried to cover up the scale of the disaster. This text will examine the historical significance of the eruption of Santa Maria and the efforts to conceal it afterward. Santa Maria Volcano and the eruption. Santa Maria is a large volcano located in western Guatemala. Up until 1902, it was known as an active but relatively harmless volcano. However, on October 19, 1902, the volcano erupted in a catastrophic event. The eruption caused widespread destruction, with ash, smoke, and lava spreading as far as 30 kilometers away. The explosion resulted in the death of over 100,000 people, and many villages were destroyed. The sky darkened, and the region was left in what seemed like an apocalyptic scene. What happened after the eruption? After the eruption of Santa Maria, local populations were in a state of panic. However, the Guatemalan government at the time tried to cover up the disaster. Many people did not hear about the eruption, or they were not provided with accurate information because of the government's reluctance to report the full extent of the damage. Some local officials chose to downplay the disaster rather than inform the international community about the scale of the eruption. During this period, collecting accurate data and properly informing the public about the effects of the disaster proved difficult. Efforts to cover it up. Many researchers argue that the government of the time actively tried to cover up the eruption's impact. The steps taken by the government to conceal the true extent of the volcanic disaster often involved ignoring local cries for help and preventing international aid from reaching the affected areas. There were several reasons for this. The first was that the government wanted to protect the economy and maintain stability. They feared that international attention on such a large-scale disaster would further damage the country's already fragile economy. The second reason was the fear of increasing political instability. Revealing the full scale of the catastrophe could have damaged public trust in the government and weakened the state's authority. International reactions. Once the international community learned the true scale of the eruption's effects, shock waves were felt around the world. Aid was sent to Guatemala, but the process of delivering aid also faced significant obstacles. Many humanitarian organizations realized that the true extent of the disaster had been hidden, and that necessary preventive measures had not been taken in time. In the aftermath of the eruption, scientists working in the Santa Maria region discovered that the eruption had not only devastated the local population, but also had long-term ecological impacts. The government's attempts to withhold information were met with widespread criticism from the global community. The long-lasting effects of Santa Maria. The eruption of Santa Maria was not just a natural disaster, but a pivotal moment in Guatemala's history. The way the government responded to the disaster and the management of natural disasters left deep marks on the country's political and social fabric. The eruption destroyed the region's agriculture, livestock, and infrastructure. Additionally, the ash and gases released into the atmosphere from the eruption had global climatic effects, leading to cold weather patterns in the years following 1902. Scientists pointed out that the eruption had long-term impacts on global weather conditions, causing temperature drops and unusual climate changes for several years. Conclusion. The eruption of Santa Maria was a disaster that shook not only Guatemala, but the entire world. However, the efforts to cover up the scale of the disaster and the lack of timely intervention provide an important historical lesson. The need for transparency, the dissemination of accurate information, and effective disaster management strategies is crucial in mitigating the impact of such catastrophes. The eruption of Santa Maria also highlighted the importance of scientific knowledge and preparedness in dealing with natural disasters.